Hi, Zangi. You're on mute.
Oh, oh, sorry. I was just saying hello, everyone. Apologies for the delay. I'm just waiting for a few more people to join us, and then I'll start sharing my screen so you can access the presentation. Thank you for your patience.
Yes, we're gonna kill. Ready. Uh, I just want to be done. Are you done with your book?
I am done with my book. Thank goodness.
Yay! I also did mine last night. Like, I just need this link and I'm done. Uka, I am
Me
done.
too. I just need this link. Hi, Fifi. Thank you
Hmm.
for joining us. I'm just going to wait 2 more minutes for more people to join and then we can get started.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Izakhala namhlanje.
Hey, Bongega. Thanks for joining. Really appreciate it. Okay, so I will just start just to avoid any delays. So welcome everyone to my webinar on creating a digital footprint. So I will just be waiting for more people to join. Hopefully they join along the way. And I'm going to start sharing my screen. Apologies if you stop being able to see me as I go through the presentation. However, you will be able to hear my voice and just follow the slides on the screen. I'm going to start sharing now. Okay. Is everyone able to see the presentation? Okay, I think it's still loading. There we go. So creating a reputable digital footprint. So firstly, what is a reputable digital footprint? So a reputable digital footprint is almost like keeping a nicely kept garden or front yard. It's the first thing that people see before they go into your house. So like a reputable digital footprint, it's the first image that people get of you and it gives them an idea of the kind of person that you are. So right now we're in the golden age of the internet. Everybody's using the internet. And so most of your potential employers, your students, or even most likely their parents have Googled you or looked you up at some point, right? So this means that your students and parents and potential bosses have at some point looked up your social media accounts. They've looked up any articles associated with your name or anything else that is associated with your information that's publicly available on the internet, right? So, what do people see when they look you up? What are some of the first things that they're likely to see? The first things that people see when they Google you is firstly your Facebook page, your YouTube channel, your Instagram page, your LinkedIn profile. And this is usually followed by any interviews that you've done with any like local newspapers or anything like that, anything that's associated with your name and surname, things that people see first when they look up your name, right? So if you've got some time today, I really encourage you to look yourself up and check out what are some of the things that come up and just think about whether that image is one that presents a professional and trustworthy and responsible person. And if not, you still have the time and you have the power to change the image that people see when they look you up, your Facebook profile, your YouTube, Instagram, etc. So let's get into some concepts and definitions, right? So when you think about your digital footprint, as the name suggests, it is a history of the activities that you have in the past or are currently engaged in on the internet, right? But importantly, this does not include your search history or your download history. That is private. No one can see that except for you. It also does not include any private messages that you've sent via direct or private messaging on Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, or Telegram, because most of those messages are encrypted. So those are private, nobody else can see them. However, anything that's published on your wall on Facebook, your statuses on WhatsApp, your stories on Instagram, all of that stuff is considered public knowledge, and everyone or anyone is free to share and post those things. So all of those things are publicly accessible to anyone that looks up your name and your Facebook profiles and your social media profiles in general, right? So then why should we care as teachers and as people? Why should we care about our digital footprint and digital citizenship? Well, the reason why we need to care is that if you teach anyone from grade 4 or upwards or even below that, they probably have access to the internet, right? They probably have social media accounts of their own, like TikTok and Instagram, and they can actually come across your profile while they are engaging in the internet. This means that some of your students can come across the things you post on TikTok, they can come across the things you post on Facebook. So it's very important to be aware of the kind of things that you're posting on there, right? And if you've looked for a job or applied for funding of any kind or loans from the year 2009 up until now, the chances are that your potential employers, your potential funders, except for banks, obviously, banks don't take into account that kind of consideration. But if you have applied for, say, scholarship funding, if you've applied for bursaries, or if you've applied for a job, the chances are that your potential employees and funders have looked up your name on the internet and come across some of your content that you post on social media. The last thing about a digital footprint that we need to care about a lot is the fact that most websites these days have asked you to accept or reject cookies in order to access the information on that page, right? And it's very important to be aware of this because it means that advertising companies or other social media companies like Facebook, which buys a lot of personal information, can then use your information if you choose to accept the cookies. They have access to your histories on that website. Advertising companies can then use that information to target advertising at you. So it's very important for you to be aware about whether or not you want your information to be sold to third parties, whether or not you want advertising companies and companies like Facebook and Meta to access this information that you give out when you accept these cookies, right? So before we move on to online safety, I'm going to open the floor up to questions. If anyone has any questions or comments before we move on.
Madzanga,
Yes.
so how then do you protect yourself from being targeted and stuff?
So how you can protect yourself from being targeted, maybe by advertising companies, I'm going to assume you're talking about. You can just choose to reject the cookies when you enter a website. So this means that they're not legally allowed to take your information or sell it to other third parties if you're not comfortable with that, right? So you can just access websites, you can filter through and only get your information from websites that don't require cookies. And that way you can ensure that your private information is safe and personal and not going to anyone else. Does that answer your
All
question?
right, thank you. Yes, it does. Thank
Awesome.
you.
All right, so now we're going to
I
move on
have
to
a
online
question.
safety. Oh, yes,
Sorry.
sorry. Yes, yes.
Sorry. I have a question. Based on Ida's question, I would like to ask something on the cookies. So, say that I've already accepted cookies, right? Because I didn't have this kind of information before. Now, will I be able to see or know how these companies are using my information after I've accepted the cookies?
Absolutely, you can do that. So you can go onto the website. So if you go onto your search history, you can access the websites that you have logged onto in the past. Once you do that, you can go onto the website, click on your drop-down menu, and choose and go to settings where you can view the terms and conditions that let you know how your information is being used. They might not necessarily tell you who exactly it's been sold to, but they will tell you in the terms and conditions that this information is being used for targeted advertising advertising. This information is being used for surveying questions for other companies. So you can definitely see what your information is being used for, but it's much more difficult to know who exactly it's going to. But because those third parties also retain their privacy, which means that they don't have to tell you who they are, but you can see whether your information is being used for advertising, for surveying, etc. If you go to the website, click on the drop-down menu, go to settings, and then go to terms and conditions, you'll be able to see that.
Thank you so much. That was very informative. Thank you. I shall do that right after this webinar. Thank you.
Awesome. Lovely. All right. So if there are no more questions, we're going to move on to online safety and how to be safe online. So online safety is very important. It protects your information and keeps you safe. And I think there are a few guidelines that we should all be following as internet users to ensure that we're engaging in internet usage safely. So the first one is to limit the amount of private information available for public viewing on your social media platforms. So we all have our biographies on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Telegram, and it's very important to not share things like your physical personal address on to your biography. Do not put that information out there. It makes you susceptible to stalking. It makes you susceptible to people being able to view really personal aspects of your life, like your address, which should not be out there. Also, avoid putting down your phone number on your biography, because in this day and age, our phone numbers are connected to our mobile banking, our internet banking. So you should be very aware of just putting your phone number out there, because you don't know what malicious intent someone can have when they access your social media. Secondly, preferably your social media pages should be kept private. So there are privacy settings that you can access. So on Instagram, you can choose to make your profile private. On Facebook, you can choose to only allow your friends to view your posts and content. This is very important to ensure that you can filter who is able to see your personal posts. You can filter who is able to follow you and access that information, so that you can have a little bit more freedom on what you can post. Thirdly, be wary of applications or websites that ask you to view or access your location, right? So sometimes you'll be going onto a website and it will have a pop-up notification that says this website or application wants to view your location. Be very wary of that. Make sure that it is a reputable business. It's a reputable platform like Google, etc., that wants to view your location, so that you can ensure that your location is safe and is not being used maliciously. Fourthly, check to see if the websites you visit are actually secure, right? So you can view this information in the drop-down menu of your browser. Websites that are not secure are not private and can leak the content of your searches to malicious third parties. So you can view whether or not a website is secure. If it's not secure, it's more likely that hackers and other individuals are able to access your search histories. If that website is secure, it means your search histories are completely private, which is very, very important. And then lastly, avoid downloading things from websites that are not secure, as this can open up your device to malicious software like viruses. So if you download something, you are able to see there is a pop-up notification that will show up on your phone or on your laptop that will say, this website is not secure. Do you want to continue the download? I would suggest that you do not continue that download, because what your device is trying to tell you is that there is a chance of you contracting a virus if you move forward to download this particular file. So I would suggest that you don't do that. And then lastly, something that I forgot to add onto the slide is make sure that your credit card information, if you want to buy something online, if you want to, purchase something there, make sure that you are using a reputable business, like for example, Shein or Take a Lot or Amazon, because those are reputable businesses that ensure that your credit card information is safe. Do not go and try and buy something from a website that you're not sure about, a come up website. Now you're putting your credit card information in there because it's not safe, and people can drain your bank account of your money. So be wary of doing that. All right. The next thing is to know how organizations use people's data. So it's very important to know who it is that's accessing your data, how they're using it, so that you can be more safe when you are accessing the internet, right? So personal data over the last couple of decades has become one of the fastest growing, most profitable businesses. And this is because the average person's personal data is worth billions of dollars in marketing, in advertising, in medical and fiscal analysis. This means that companies are making a lot of money on your personal data because they can sell it to people that can use it for advertising, they can sell it to parties that can use it for marketing, they can sell it to parties that can use it for medical analysis and monetary analysis and surveys and all of that stuff that informs them about the consumer base, right? So, given the fact that it is such a huge industry and it's making so much money, a lot of companies are going to want to access your data. Now more than ever, companies like Facebook and Amazon want and need our personal data that they can access through our internet usage, right? And this is not always necessarily a bad thing. It's not always necessarily bad to give out your information for advertising because a lot of people want to be able to be recommended things that they like. They want to be able to be recommended products and information and content that interests them. So this is not necessarily a bad thing. However, it's important to keep in mind who you are giving that information to. Make sure that it is a reputable business, a reputable organization like your Google and your Amazons and your Facebooks, and not just some third party that can use your information maliciously without sort of any accountability that they have, right? So organizations use people's data, as you've no doubt witnessed. It's become almost impossible actually to avoid cookies. Most websites require you to either accept or reject cookies, and most of them even make it a condition that you can't access information here without cookies, which means that it rests on us to filter through those websites and to go through the process of saying, if I don't want this website to access my information, I will go through finding 15 websites until I can find one that does not need me to accept cookies, that allows me to access this without my cookies. In large part, cookies collect your history with particular websites with the objective of targeting advertising at you. Like I said before, this is mostly harmless as most people want to see more of what they search for, to expand the information that they have, or to get access to goods that they're interested in, which is not a bad thing. You just have to make sure that you are accepting cookies with reputable websites, reputable news websites that can give you more of what you want to see as opposed to use your information against you, right? Where it can become dangerous, like I said, is where you put your credit card details into unreliable website or sources that can use this information to drain your account, and it can become very dangerous to allow your location to be accessed by parties that are not reputable that can use this information against you, right? So then the next part of this presentation is how you can rebrand yourself as a teacher. But before that, I'm going to open up the floor to questions and comments about online security and how organizations use people's data, if anyone has any questions or comments.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, hello.
I do have a question, but it wasn't necessarily around the safety. It's actually almost in line with the presentation, the slide that you have on your screen now, because I was gonna ask, as a teacher, then what should I be posting? Especially since I'm a teacher, but I also do have a personal life. How do I strike a balance? What shouldn't I be posting more than what should I be posting? I don't know if I'm making sense.
Yes, that is a very, very good question, and it is answered mostly by the slides that follow, right? So I will just check in to see whether your question was answered after I go through this, because I think it's very much in line with what we're going to talk about next.
No problem.
So, as a teacher, the internet provides us with great opportunities to create an image that speaks to our unique personalities and tell the world about how we engage uniquely with our own profession, right? So, here's how you can rebrand yourself as a teacher within the digital age. You can create additional learning resources for your class through websites using things like WordPress. So you can create and start blogging as a teacher, blogging about materials that your students can access, and blogging about additional things that some of your students who are more ahead in the class, or some of your students that need a little extra help, can access in their own personal time. This is a great resource to use because you can do it in your personal time and your students can access it as well in their personal time. You can also extend your work by creating fun content-based games for your students to do in class with platforms like Kahoot. So Kahoot is a really great platform that allows you to create games that you can use either in the classroom, or you can recommend to your students to do with their parents at home. Other platforms as well, like Minecraft, allow you to create content-based games. You can do spelling and mathematics and allow your students to engage with work in a fun way. And then lastly here, which I think speaks to your question, Fifi, is that you can create two separate social media accounts on every platform, right? You can have one personal one that is private, that you can post all of your fun times with, and all of your personal content on that. And then you can have a professional social media account where you post all of your professional content based things. You can post about the workshops that you attend, snap pictures of the workshops that you attend, comment on what you found useful with that workshop, connect with other teachers through those professional websites, and share things like opportunities within the educational space, and share some conversations that are happening within the educational space on your professional social media platform. So this is the social media platform that parents and future or potential employees and other teachers in the network can access and can see what kind of a teacher you are professionally. And you can keep those two accounts separate so that you can have the freedom to post whatever it is that you want to post, making sure that your personal social media is private, and then making your professional one public, so that employers, parents, students, and other teachers can engage with that content, right? So I hope that answers your question. That's a great way of ensuring that you have a good brand and a sustainable brand as a teacher, but you also still retain some privacy in your internet usage in your personal time. Does that answer your question, Fifi?
Thank you. That did answer my question.
Cool. So here are just some visual examples of that. So over there is an example of, this is actually from my previous English teacher when I was in high school, and I just asked her if she was comfortable with me sharing that, and she gave me her permission to do so. So the first image there is of her own website that she created. She calls herself the Classy English Teacher. This is a website, a blog on WordPress that she created, and she posts a lot of content there. She's a matric English teacher. She posts content on the matric content that she's doing. She'll post about the book. She'll post analysis on there. She'll post resources on grammar, on punctuation, and all other things that they're doing in matric. So her students can actually access this in their personal time. And in matric, it was a really great help for me to be able to study. And then in the middle there is just an example of what Kahoot looks like. Over there, we have a grammar game, and your students can access this on their tablets, on their phones, in the classroom or at home. And then the last one there is also a picture of a screenshot of her professional Instagram account, where she posts things about being an English teacher. She posts content on English, etc. She has two separate social medias. This one is a professional one, and she also has her private one. So it's quite a good way for her to keep that balance in between there. Okay, thank you for attending. That's all that I have in terms of creating a reputable digital footprint. If anyone else has more questions, I'm happy to answer them before we end the call.
I have a question before we close.
Yes.
Okay, so referring to one of your slides where you talked about not posting our personal information like our phone number and address on the internet. I know that. But now my question is, how much is too much personal information on social media? Like, can I post my family, where we went this weekend, perhaps, or where I went to school, where I work? Would I be posting too much information on myself if I were to do that?
So definitely not. So I think that the amount of information you can post on social media is where you went to school, because this is relevant for potential employees. You can post about where you went over the weekend, as long as you post the location after the fact, right? So you don't want to be saying pinned location, I'm at Monte Casino with my family, because anyone who wants to come and cause you harm can just come to Monte Casino and cause you harm. So after the fact, you can post that last weekend I was at Monte Casino. This ensures that you've exited the space once you've posted that kind of thing. And also, it's very important to just stray away from controversial opinions. You don't want to be like the person who we're having conversations about, are you racist? Are you sexist? Are you this and that? You don't want people to be associating yourself with that. So any controversial political opinions, I would say just stay away from them. You can have those conversations in private, but perhaps keep them away from your social media, because it might associate you with an image that your parents don't want to associate with, that your bosses don't want to associate with. So that kind of information as well is too much, as well as your physical address and other things that we've talked about.
Thank you. Thank you so much for answering my question.
You're welcome. Alrighty, if there are no more questions, I'm going to close off here. Thank you so much for attending this webinar. I hope it was helpful and informative, and I hope you can use
I
some of
have
these
a
skills.
question.
All right?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
So I wanted to ask, like, how much personal information is too much to have posted?
Okay, so we just spoke about this. So information like, for example, your physical address is way too much. You don't need to be posting where you live on social media, because that can be dangerous. Do not post your live location where you are at the moment, right? So if you're going out on an outing with your family and you're at Monte Casino or you're at Sun City, it's better for you to post after the fact that, listen, last weekend I was at Sun City, but not when you're at Sun City. Because if you post your live location, you open yourself up to dangers. There are people out there that may want to cause you harm. So you don't want to be posting where you are when you are there. You can post about it, like on Monday, you can post the pictures to say, I was at Sun City and I was with this and this and this place, so that people cannot follow you and cannot cause you harm when you are, living your best life. Does that answer your question? I hope it does. Okay, cool. If there are no more questions, I'm going to close off the webinar and hope that you found value in it. I hope that you can use some of these skills in terms of becoming a better digital teacher and in terms of also being safe on the internet. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.